What will you describe about a man who couldn't protect his newly wedded wife from abduction by his enemies? A coward. But that man later in his life got more than 100 wives and concubines, conquered the territories that no one could imagine of. That man is Genghis Khan. The man who couldn't know whether his first son is born to him, but now scientists says that 1 out of 200 people in this world is from that man's blood. That man is Genghis Khan. If you read or hear about Genghis Khan, you will get an image that Genghis Khan as cruel, brutal, barbaric, sadistic, ruthless despotic king in the pages of history. First, what we know about history. What historians taught us. We believed what historians wants us to believe. We blindfoldedly believed that without knowing their intentions. Let's see how Western historians tarnished Genghis Khan legacy. But particularly why Genghis Khan is characterized as cruel, brutal, barbaric, sadistic, ruthless despotic king. The bitter truth is Western historians couldn't digest the fact that an Asian, non-Asiatic guy conquered the territories then Roman Empire, Alexander the Great, Napoleon Bonaparte and many more European kings. What Western historians says that Genghis Khan massacred innocent civilians in the war. But show me any war that didn't kill any one innocent civilian. Getting innocent people killed is part of the war. Genghis Khan and his generals preferred to offer their enemies the chance to surrender without resistance to avoid war, to become vassals by sending tribute, accepting Mongol residents and contributing troops. Scholars says that terror and mass extermination of anyone opposing them was a well-tested Mongol tactic. War is the final option for Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan invaded Khwarezmian Empire after the ruler crossed the Golden Rule. The Golden Rule is that never insult or kill ambassadors. But the Khwarezmian ruler Shah shaved 2 ambassadors and beheaded 1 ambassador. He even sent that ambassador's beheaded head to Genghis Khan. This provokes even me. So Genghis Khan did what he can able to do. So Khwarezmian ruler actions only premeditated Mongols' revenge. Bort was abducted by the rival group's Merkid when she was newly wedded wife. When Genghis Khan rescued Bort, she was 9 months pregnant. So it is unclear that who is the father of the child. But if anyone in Genghis' place, the child could have been murdered. But Genghis Khan spared the child's life and even treated that child as his own. This shows how matured person he is. Even in this 21st century we have come across many incidents that stepfather mistreating their stepsons, stepdaughters. But Genghis Khan spared that child's life and even shared the kingdom to his descendants. During his reign, Genghis Khan raised the status of women in positions of prominence. Women played crucial roles in Khan's diplomacy and warfare. The Mongol women proved adept at administrating their territory and fighting alongside men on foreign conquests. Unlike the other empires, Mongol women played crucial roles in diplomacy and warfare. This shows Genghis Khan's cosmopolitan nature. He promoted people based on individual merit. As his rival, blood brother Jamukha believed aristocratic privilege, but Genghis Khan believed individual merit. Even his most powerful military commander Subutai is from blacksmith community. But Genghis Khan found Subutai's talent and incorporated into his army. This shows how much that Genghis Khan got lateral thinking. He incorporated enemies into his army in 1201. Genghis Khan was nearly killed in battle after his horse was shot out from under him. Genghis Khan asked enemy prisoners who had fired the arrow. A man bravely stepped forward to take the blame and said he would accept punishment of death or swear undying loyalty if spared. Genghis Khan immediately made him an officer in his army. Jeb, or Arrow as Genghis called him, would go to become the great Mongol field commander. He banned torture. In contrast to many civilized armies at the time, the Mongols did not maim or torture their prisoners. Instead, Genghis Khan believed the surest way to inspire terror was through speed and efficiency in battle. Many of the stories about building pyramids out of enemy skulls and boiling people alive, scholars believe, are fear-inspired myths. It's part of psychological warfare. They instilled fear in the mind of people so that they can easily rule them. As a military genius, Genghis Khan knew that. He used these fed-up stories to instill fear among the subjects so that there will be no uprisings. He outlawed slavery. Genghis Khan understood the bitterness and economic strain that slavery created. He did also been a slave himself during his teenage years, when he and his wife Bort were captured by a rival clan. So when Genghis Khan began unifying the Mongol tribes, he outlawed the taking of Mongols as servants or slaves. He established freedom of religion. As a genius, Genghis Khan knew that religion is one of the ways to control people. So he allowed subjects freedom of religion and even gave tax exemptions to places to worship. This shows that he is not despotic king. He was tolerant of different religions. Unlike many empire builders, Genghis Khan embraced the diversity of his newly conquered territories. He passes laws declaring religious freedom for all and even granted tax exemptions to places of worship. This tolerance had a political side. The Khan knew that happy subjects were less likely to rebel, but the Mongols also had an exceptionally liberal attitude towards religion. While Genghis and many others subscribed to a shamanistic belief system that revered the spirits of the sky, winds, and mountains, the steppe people were a diverse bunch that included Nestorian Chiristians, Buddhists, Muslims, and other animistic traditions. The Great Khan also had a personal interest in spirituality. He was known to pray in his tent for multiple days before important campaigns, and he often met with different religious leaders to discuss the details of their faiths. In his old age, he even summoned the Taoist leader Chu Chuji to his camp, and the pair supposedly had long conversations on immortality and philosophy. Jamukha was eventually betrayed to Genghis Khan by his followers in 1206. Genghis Khan executed Jamukha's betrayers on the principle that betrayal merits the harshest punishment. Jamukha preferred to be executed by dying a noble death without the spilling of blood. His request was granted by having his back broken by Genghis Khan's soldiers. It is said that Temujin buried Jamukha with the golden belt that he had given to Jamukha when they formed their bond of brotherhood. Genghis Khan's top generals were captured and ordered to be boiled alive by Jamukha. Clearly this a dishonor for any leader. But Genghis Khan didn't give same the treatment to his blood brother Jamukha. Instead he gave noble death standing by his blood brother. Request: you can ask me a question. Maybe Genghis Khan could have spared Jamukha, but as a king you should definitely kill Jamukha, otherwise Jamukha may revolt in future. You cannot predict a leader's behavior. He established universal law adopted from Mongol common law. Genghis Khan's system of law, known as the Yasa, prohibited theft, adultery, blood feuds, and bearing false witness. Some versions also incorporated the Mongols' respect for the environment by outlawing bathing in rivers or streams and requiring soldiers to pick anything that had been dropped on the ground. He redistributed the wealth he gained. Genghis Khan is frequently listed as one of the richest people in the history, but only in terms of the land he conquered. Rather than hoard the money and goods he gained through conquering, Genghis gave it to his soldiers and commanders, injecting it back into economy. Genghis Khan even shared war profit to dead soldiers' widows. This proves that Genghis Khan's kindness and generosity. Let's see the comparison between Alexander the Great and Genghis Khan. Alexander has born as king's son. He was born with silver spoon. He was pampered with everything he want. His tutor was Aristotle. At the age of 20 he got throne and well-equipped army. He conquered the territories just for his adrenaline rush. But Genghis was born for a local chief. He lost his father at the age of 9. After his father's death, the tribe he was associated abandoned him and his family. He was enslaved and endured harsh punishments and torture. But he sailed against all these storms. He unified all nomadic tribes under one roof. He spent his first 30 years for that. Now say, who is great, Alexander or Genghis Khan? Genghis Khan built an army from the scratch that you ever could imagine. His army is comprised of nomadic tribes, steppes tribes, forest dwellers, blacksmith, sheep herders community. But this army won almost all battles they fought. How could that made possible? It's because of only one name. That name is Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan is a military genius and best war strategist. I wonder, while seeing some people having pride, arrogance for their achievements, but the greatest conqueror of all time, Genghis Khan, never allowed anyone to paint his portrait, sculpt his image, or engrave his likeness on a coin. This shows how humble he is. Even Genghis Khan asked to be buried without markings or any sign. Even now the exact location of his grave site is still undiscovered. If Genghis Khan born in Europe, maybe he could have become Genghis Khan the Great. It is so obvious that Western historians tarnished Genghis Khan legacy. Even if you become a king, you should make decisions even that is inhuman in nature. As a king you cannot trust even your family, you cannot judge where the threat comes for you. You may be poisoned like Genghis Khan father, you can be betrayed by your own generals like Jamukha, you may be imprisoned in fort like Shah Jahan by own son Aurangzeb. So if you become king you will get paranoia. This is harsh reality. As Genghis Khan lost his father by poisoning, it is obvious that he become more sturdy in nature. Genghis Khan is the best example for anyone to succeed in life. Imagine an enslaved man later become the greatest conqueror of all time. Could you believe that? In the next video we will see how Temujin becomes Genghis Khan.